February the 1st, 2004, 9/16ths of a second that would forever change the life, career and legacy of Janet Jackson, as well as affecting culture in so many different ways that are still being felt today. This is the story of Nipplegate, Janet Jackson's nip slip. On the 15th of February 2002, Entertainment Weekly reported that the NFL had Janet Jackson in mind to perform at the next Super Bowl, but changed their mind after they saw U2 perform at a 9/11 memorial concert in NYC. But as we all know, they didn't forget about Janet, and on the 19th of December 2003, People magazine announces that Janet Jackson has been booked to perform at the Super Bowl on the 1st of February, her performance being produced by MTV. MTV would also release their own statement 4 days before the performance, including a quote by Janet's choreographer that said, "The dancing is great. She's more stylized, she's more feminine. She's more a woman as she dances this time around. There are some shocking moments in there too," which they would later edit after the performance, adding, "At the time of this report, MTV thought that the shock was going to be the yet unannounced appearance of Justin Timberlake as part of Janet's performance. Janet Jackson's subsequent performance was not what had been rehearsed, discussed or agreed to with MTV," which is not entirely true. And what I think is really interesting, even more so than the actual aftermath of the performance, is all the statements that have been released by people who work behind the scenes in the years since. And I think to truly understand the breadth of this infamous moment, we need to understand what happened beforehand, because it's actually a lot less mysterious than you would think. Everyone who was actually involved with the making of the performance agrees on one thing, that the original tearaway reveal, to go with the lyric Justin was singing "Gonna Have You Naked" by the end of the song, was meant to be a skirt that Justin would tear off and reveal something shorter underneath, though what that was has been debated. In an interview completed years later, the director of the show talked about the original skirt concept.
And Janet had her wardrobe person and her choreographer had come up with this bit where Justin sings the last line was like, "Gonna have you naked" by the end of this song, and on song he was gonna pull off this breakaway skirt. So she'd still have like a unitard kind of thing underneath, but tear off the breakaway skirt, wide shot pyro out. So on Thursday, when she was rehearsing with the skirt, she had it on during Rhythm Nation, and it kept coming loose. So on Friday, when we were at off-site rehearsals, Janet had come up to me and said, "I'm not really sure if I'm gonna wear that skirt because it keeps coming loose, so I don't know if we're gonna do that bit." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be on a head-to-toe shot for it. If you tell me you're not gonna do it, I can cut to something tighter, but if not, if I don't hear from you, I'll be on a head-to-toe shot for that line."
But as she said, the skirt kept coming loose and was also flagged as potentially problematic by the show's producer.
When we saw that in rehearsal, that was the first thing that was flagged within everyone's notes, so we killed it.
So to everyone working on the show, it seemed that the tearaway concept was over. However, Janet and her stylist had another idea. Speaking to Page 6 in April 2021, Janet's stylist, Wayne Scott Lucas, said that the skirt idea was originally Justin's, in an attempt to outdo Britney Spears, Madonna and Christina Aguilera, who had wowed the world months earlier by scandalously kissing at the MTV Video Music Awards. Janet was going to be in a rocha dress, and Justin was going to step on the back of her dress to reveal her butt in this pearl G-string. But the outfit changed a couple of days before, and you saw the magic. Many people think that what happened at Janet's Super Bowl was an accident, and even though footage and reports of Janet crying and being stricken after the show seem to suggest that it really was, there is actually a lot of evidence that goes against that idea. 2 years after the show, Janet did an interview with Oprah where she said there was meant to be a tearaway, but it was only meant to reveal her red undergarment.
Was it planned, Janet?
No.
It was not planned?
Well, what people don't understand is he was to take and rip the piece off that he did.
The leather piece.
Right, but more came off than what was supposed to.
So he was supposed to pull that off and we just see the red there.
However, this picture suggests completely otherwise, that the red you see peeking over the top of her leather dress doesn't belong to either a red bra that she is wearing underneath or a singular red breast cut that is sewn under the leather tearaway, but instead is just a piece of material sewn onto the leather tearaway to trick audience into believing that she's actually covered underneath. There is no red garment underneath to be revealed. And if the leather tearaway was really only meant to reveal a non-existent red undergarment, why is she wearing a decorative nipple ring that theoretically wouldn't even been seen? In the words of Janet's stylist, "I wouldn't call it a wardrobe malfunction in a million years. It was the most functioning wardrobe in history. As a stylist, it did what it was intended to do." More evidence that adds to the case that none of what happened was really an accident, even though that doesn't mean Janet deserved the backlash that she experienced, is an interview USA Today did with the body piercer who provided the nipple ring in 2018. Daly, the body piercer, said it was Super Bowl week when Wayne Scott Lucas, Janet's stylist, walked into Torian Piercing and Metal Shop in Houston. Lucas, according to Daly, identified himself as Jackson's stylist and said he was looking for nipple jewelry for Jackson. At the end of it, while we were talking, he was like, "Okay, watch the halftime show. There's going to be a surprise at the end." USA Today also conducted an interview with the tailor that adjusted Janet's costume beforehand, who revealed that he had signed a non-disclosure agreement. "Tell me straight what you need from me," Garzon, the tailor, said. "Details are needed. Details about the alteration and anything Garzon knows about the halftime show scandal." "No, sir, that's confidential. That's really confidential. How do I say that? I signed the papers with Mrs. Jackson to not release anything at all." So when it came time for the actual performance on the night of February the 1st, 2004, after Janet had already performed All For You, Rhythm Nation, The Knowledge, and Justin had come on for his surprise performance, you can imagine everyone's surprise when it happened. And no one seemed to be more surprised than Janet herself. The backlash was immediate, non-stop, and intense for only one half of the performing party. In a day, Janet and Justin released written statements addressing the incident, with Justin also saying to Access Hollywood, "Hey man, we love giving you all something to talk about." Janet released a video apology, which she would later say that she regretted and was forced into doing by her management.
My decision to change the Super Bowl performance was actually made after the final rehearsal. MTV, CBS, the NFL had no knowledge of this whatsoever, and unfortunately, the whole thing went wrong in the end. I am really sorry if I offended anyone. That was truly not my intention.
In the immediate aftermath of the show, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC for short, received thousands of complaints about the show, eventually totaling up to 540,000 complaints. The Parents Television Council released a statement expressing their outrage with the performance and also thanked the FCC for launching an investigation into the performance, which they started only one day after the Super Bowl. NFL released their own statement saying, "We are extremely disappointed by elements of the MTV-produced halftime show. They were totally inconsistent with assurances our office was given about the content of the show. It's unlikely that MTV will produce another Super Bowl halftime." Janet was uninvited from the Grammys the next week and was also barred from performing at the special Luther Vandross tribute, both of which Justin Timberlake was still allowed to go to, apparently because Janet had refused to make a tearful apology to the CBS chief executive Les Moonves, unlike Justin Timberlake. But Timberlake was allowed to perform after he tearfully apologized for the incident, according to conversations Moonves had with my sources. The CBS chief executive, according to sources who spoke to me, was furious that Jackson didn't make a similarly contrite apology to him. This move by Janet would affect her career massively, as Les Moonves ordered VH1, MTV, and all Viacom-owned radio stations to stop playing her songs and music videos, causing her next album, Demeter Joe, released in March that year, to do horribly on the charts compared to her previous efforts, with which she had gained 10 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. With all the media backlash, Janet still decided to go onto Letterman later that month and complete this very uncomfortable interview.
All right, let's run through this now. Tell us exactly what happened from the time you got up on Super Bowl Sunday to the time the episode took place during the halftime show.
I don't want to relive any of that.
All right.
I mean,
You don't mind if I ask you some questions about it, though? First of all, you knew it was going to happen, right? You did know it was going to happen.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know it was going to happen?
No, I didn't.
So it came as a complete surprise to you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Justin, on the other hand, seemed to only gain immensely from the Super Bowl, though it may have wrecked his reputation in the long term, as in the immediate aftermath of the Super Bowl and the years following, he didn't face any major backlash caused by the Super Bowl and instead only went from strength to strength. However, he did finally share his thoughts on performance and how he acted afterwards in an interview with MTV in 2006.
I guess it's safe to say neither you or Janet anticipated the reaction that it got. Well, the other thing is too, I mean, it's no, you know, it's an understatement to say that it was sort of unfair if you consider it 50-50. I mean, I probably got 10% of the blame, and that, I think that says something about society. You know, I think that America's harsher on women, and I think that America's, you know, unfairly harsh on ethnic people. I mean, you know, at the time when it was happening, it was so crazy to me, like, that I didn't handle it the best way I could have.
Which all sounds very pretty until you hear his diss track that he released a year later, which goes, "Could you speak up and stop the mumbling? I don't think you're getting clear. Sitting on the top, it's hard to hear you from way up here. I saw you trying to act cute on TV, just let me clear the air. We missed you on the charts last week, damn that's right, you wasn't there." And also his feature in the song Role Model, which was released 7 years after the performance. "Maybe you're right, maybe I'm an oops, did I take it too far? Superbowl. I'ma still grab my balls, I'm on a roll. Yeah, I'm that white boy shooting free throws." Which makes it all the better that his career is in the trash now. But Janet wasn't the only person affected by the performance, and in fact the whole broadcasting industry was changed forever after the nip slip, as the FCC fervently displayed their power of censorship to calm down the waspy parts of America who got all hung up over a nipple. Live TV would also never be the same, with minimal 30-second video delays being added to every studio across the nation. The 2004 Grammys went as far as adding a 5-minute delay. The Super Bowl decided to ditch provocative young pop stars and only choose old guitar-playing men until 2011, when they decided to switch things up and go for the Black Eyed Peas. Years later, Michael Powell, FCC chairman, later apologized to Janet about his behavior surrounding the Super Bowl, saying, "I think we've been removed from this long enough for me to tell you that I had to put my best version of outrage on that I could put on. Part of it was surreal, right? Look, I think it was dumb to happen and they knew the rules and they were flirting with them. And my job is to enforce the rules, but you know, really, this is what we're gonna do." Referring to the fact that the indecency statute is part of the criminal code, so someone convicted of broadcasting indecency could be imprisoned, an artist showing their nipple for example, he said, "As a leader, I thought that was really wrong. I didn't want this snowball, this juggernaut, to turn into pressure to go after Janet and Justin Timberlake. I thought we were getting into dangerous territory." Justin has also issued an apology to Janet 17 years later, saying, "I've seen the messages, tags, comments and concerns, and I want to respond. I am deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right. I understand that I fell short in these moments and in many others and benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. I specifically want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, both individually, because I care for and respect these women and I know I failed." As explosive and harmful as Janet Jackson's nip slip was to her own life, it has definitely become a defining moment in culture throughout the last 20 years, perhaps the last time where there was real extreme outrage over something that happened on TV. Many magazines have called it one of the most shocking events in pop culture, and a study of television's most impactful moments of the last 50 years, conducted by the Nielsen Television Research Company, ranked Janet's Super Bowl performance at number 26. The nip slip also inspired the creation of YouTube, when one of its co-founders became frustrated when they couldn't find a clip of the performance. How do you feel about the reaction to the infamous nip slip? Do you think it was an accident or do you think it was planned? How do you feel about Justin's behavior towards Janet? Let me know in the comments down below, like the video and subscribe if you're new.
If they're going to worry about, you know, children and what children shouldn't see, I think they should address all issues on TV. I think there's a lot of violence on television as well. And there's a lot of hypocrisy about beating up on Janet Jackson and not a lot of other things that children have access to.